Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. She was curled up on the left side of the bed. Same as always. Mouth slightly open. One leg kicked free from the blanket. Her breathing was soft, shallow. She looked peaceful. You'd never guess what she'd said to me just 8 hours earlier. You make my skin crawl when you touch me. She didn't scream it. That almost made it worse. Came out cold. Mechanical. Like she was telling me the weather report. And I just stood there, frozen beside the sink, holding the plate I just dried, like an idiot statue in a wax museum. I didn't respond, didn't cry. I just nodded, put the plate down, and walked out of the kitchen like I wasn't dying inside. Now, standing in our dim bedroom, watching her sleep, all I could think was, this is the last time. I didn't make a sound. I didn't grab anything loud. I had pre-packed. Not suitcases, too dramatic. Just a soft duffel in the back of my closet. A few worn shirts. A half-used notebook. My meds. I left my wedding ring on the dresser beside hers. I positioned it upright, next to the ceramic turtle she once said reminded her of childhood. I checked her face once more. Nothing. Not even a stir. I guess even my silence wasn't loud enough to reach her anymore. When I stepped into the hallway, the floor didn't creak like it used to. I thought, weirdly, even the house is done with me. I took the back door, locked it behind me. No message, no note, no warning. I disappeared, and I didn't expect her to care. But by noon the next day, my sister called me in a panic. Hal, she's calling me nonstop, crying. She's saying you're gone and didn't say goodbye. What the hell is going on? I didn't answer. Not her. Not anyone. I turned off my phone and let the weight of everything hit me in a quiet motel room 2 towns away, where the wallpaper peeled at the corners and the TV only had 3 channels that worked. She wanted space. She got the whole universe. But what happened next? Not even I was prepared for. By the second day, the silence wasn't peaceful, it was punishing. I kept checking my phone, even though I turned it off. It sat on the nightstand beside the motel bed, black screen, untouched, like a dead thing I couldn't stop glancing at. I wasn't hoping she'd call. I knew she would. I just didn't know what I wanted to feel when she did. Regret? Power? Relief? I felt none of it. Just a tightness in my chest and a hollow ache behind my ribs. The motel smelled like a mix of lemon cleaner and old cigarettes. I hadn't eaten a real meal since I left. Just some vending machine crackers and a bottle of warm soda. I kept thinking about the way she'd pulled away from me that last week. How every time I passed her in the hallway, she'd press herself flat against the wall like I was some stranger invading her space. No explanation. No fight. Just that creeping disgust she thought I wouldn't notice. But I did. I noticed everything. On the 3rd morning, I checked out of the motel and went further north. I found a cabin rental 2 hours out near Crooked Lake. Off-season. Cheap. Quiet. The kind of place you go to forget your life ever existed. The man who handed me the key didn't ask questions. Just muttered something about deer ticks and handed me a folded map. I didn't need the map. I wasn't planning on exploring. I just needed a roof and no one around to ask how I was doing. That night, the power flickered twice, and I thought about the last time we lost electricity at home. It was December 2 years ago. She wore 3 sweaters and sat beside me by candlelight, pretending to read a book while secretly using my chest as a heater. She laughed that night. Genuinely laughed when I made shadow puppets on the ceiling. I remember thinking, this is what marriage feels like. This is it. That memory hit harder than I expected. I felt the burn behind my eyes before I even noticed the tears. I didn't hear from her until day 4. I'd left the phone off too long. When I powered it back on, it exploded with missed calls. 17 from her. 5 from her sister. 2 from our neighbor. Then the texts started coming through all at once like a flood. Where are you? Please, Halford. This isn't funny. Are you okay? Just let me know you're alive. I didn't mean what I said. Please talk to me. I'm losing my mind. That one hit different. I'm losing my mind. She'd barely noticed when I was around. And now she was unraveling in my absence? I didn't reply. I didn't block her either. I just watched. I watched as her panic escalated into something almost surreal. Voice messages came next. Her voice was shaky, strained. The confident tone she used when telling me she'd be late from yoga class had vanished. Now she sounded like someone who'd been locked out of their own house during a storm. "Hal, please, I messed up. I know I did. I don't even know who I've been lately. But I didn't think you'd actually leave. Please come back. Or at least tell me if you're safe." Still, I didn't answer. She needed to feel it. The emptiness. The same one I'd been swallowing for months. Spoon-fed every time she rolled her eyes at my touch or walked away mid-sentence. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just wanted her to sit in the same silence I'd been drowning in. But something was wrong. Deep down, I could feel it. There was a desperation in her voice I hadn't heard in years. Like a crack forming in the version of her I thought had replaced the woman I married. And when I got the next text, just 2 words, I felt my heart drop into my stomach. "He's gone." Who the hell was he? I stared at the screen for nearly an hour. Just those 2 words. He's gone. No context. No name. No follow-up. I read them over and over again, letting my mind fill in the blanks with everything I didn't want to admit. I had left to make her feel what I felt. Emptiness, neglect, silence. But now something was different. The panic in her voice, the desperation in her texts. They weren't just about me anymore. Who the hell was she talking about? I didn't text back. I just listened to her latest voice message. This time she was crying, no sobbing. I could barely make out her words between the gasps. "Please, Hal, I don't know what to do. I never thought he'd actually leave. I didn't even say anything cruel to him. I didn't push him away, not like I did with you. I swear I didn't mean to. Please, I need someone right now." I sat there on the edge of that ugly cabin bed, heart thudding, listening to her beg for someone, me maybe, but clearly also someone else. And something inside me started unraveling. She said he left. She said she didn't mean to push him away like she did with me. So it was true. There was someone else. All this time, the whispers behind bathroom doors, the unexplained yoga classes, the new lingerie tags I found stuffed in the trash behind the garage. None of it had been in my head. I had made excuses for all of it because I was too afraid of confirming what my gut already knew. She hadn't just been tired. She hadn't just been disconnected. She had been redirecting every bit of warmth and affection she once gave me toward someone else. But he left her. And now she was spiraling. And now I was her backup plan. I didn't even know what to feel. Anger? Validation? Some sick version of satisfaction? But all I really felt was shame. Shame that I still cared. Shame that her voice, even in its broken state, still pulled at the part of me that hadn't stopped loving her. I turned my phone off again. Not to punish her this time, but because I needed silence to think. I walked outside into the cold air and stared up at the dark sky. No stars, just clouds smearing across the moonlight. I thought about driving back, thought about walking into our house, confronting her, demanding names and explanations and apologies. But that wasn't me. I wasn't the guy who threw plates or screamed. I was the guy who quietly folded. The guy who whispered, "Okay," when someone said, "I don't love you anymore." Still, I couldn't shake the message. He's gone. And then it hit me. What if she meant something else entirely? What if this wasn't just some affair unraveling? What if this wasn't about heartbreak, but loss? The next morning, I turned the phone back on. There were 12 new messages. The most recent one said, "You left when I needed you most." Attached was a photo, blurry, taken in the hallway of our house. And in the background, barely visible through the open bedroom door, was a suitcase lying open on the floor, and someone else's shoes. Shoes that weren't mine. Shoes that were no longer there. I couldn't stop looking at the photo. The shoes weren't mine, but the carpet was. That hallway, the faint scuff marks near the baseboards, the framed photo crooked above the light switch. Every detail screamed home. My home. And yet, in the blurred corner of that image was proof that someone else had been living in it while I faded quietly into the background. Someone who had now, apparently, vanished too. The messages kept coming in waves. I hadn't responded to a single one, But she didn't care. Maybe she couldn't stop herself. The guilt, the panic, the unraveling of whatever fantasy she had tried to build behind my back. It was all pouring out. And still, not once had she said who he was. Not a name, not a face, just he. One of her voice messages replayed in my head like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. He left his toothbrush here, his jacket, his dog's leash. I didn't even see him take it all. It's like he just vanished. Like you. That word again. Vanished. She was right. We had both left her without a word. Maybe that was her thing. Pushing people so far away that one day, they stop announcing their exits. They just dissolve. I wondered if she noticed how much of me had disappeared before I ever physically left. My laugh. My questions. The way I used to reach for her in bed and slowly stopped. Did she even remember the last time we had dinner without a screen between us? The last time I bought her flowers. Only for her to leave them unopened on the counter for 3 days? It wasn't that I wanted her to suffer. I didn't. I wanted her to see. To finally look around and realize how much damage she'd done by pretending nothing was wrong. But if I'm being honest, and what's the point of writing this if I'm not? I didn't expect it to haunt me this much. Because now, I had a picture in my head that wouldn't leave me alone. A man, some faceless stranger, laughing in our living room, pouring wine into the glasses we got as wedding gifts, feeding our dog the treats I used to hide in the top drawer. I imagined him standing in front of my bathroom mirror, shaving with the razor I forgot to pack, touching her waist, sleeping in my side of the bed. And the sickest part? I was jealous of him, not because he had her, but because he left first. He had the guts to walk out before I even acknowledged what was happening. I waited too long. I stayed quiet. I gave her space and excuses and benefit of the doubt until there was nothing left of me to give. But what really broke me was what I found that night, when curiosity got the better of me, and I finally opened my laptop and logged into our shared cloud storage. I wasn't looking for anything specific. Just some twisted part of me needed to know what he looked like. Maybe I wanted to see if he was younger, stronger, more alive. Maybe I wanted confirmation that he was nothing like me, so I could stop blaming myself. Instead, I found a video. One she must have forgotten to delete. The camera was pointed slightly off-center, like it was hidden. The resolution wasn't great, but I could see enough. They were in our kitchen, laughing, whispering. She kissed him on the cheek and said, "He won't be home for another hour." My heart stopped. I checked the timestamp. It was a Tuesday. She had told me she was going to therapy. The video lasted 4 minutes. I didn't watch all of it. I didn't need to. The sound of her laughter, her real laughter, was enough to make my throat tighten. It wasn't the kind of laugh she saved for me anymore. I slammed the laptop shut, sat there in the dark cabin, knees shaking, chest burning. I thought disappearing would be my quiet revenge. But now it just felt like I was punishing myself too. And still, one question circled in my mind. If he was really gone, why did she look so scared? I thought I was losing sleep because of guilt. I thought I was staring at the ceiling in that cabin night after night because I missed the version of her I once knew. The girl who used to tug at my sleeve in the grocery store just to whisper something dumb and make me laugh. But the more I played that video in my head, the more I realized it wasn't guilt that kept me awake. It was dread. There was something off about it. Something too carefully staged, too performative, like it was recorded for someone else's benefit. I hadn't considered until that moment that maybe I wasn't the only one being manipulated. The next day, I made a mistake. I answered her call. She was crying the second I picked up, like she had been waiting by the phone with tears on cue. "Hal, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know I should have told you sooner. I just didn't know how." I didn't say a word. I let her fill the silence with guilt. "It wasn't what you think. He wasn't just some fling. It started after the holidays. You were always working late and barely talking to me, and I know that's not an excuse, but he listened. He made me feel seen again, like I mattered. But it got complicated. He started asking me about your schedule, your work, your money. I thought it was harmless at first, just curiosity, but then I found out he used my login to check your bank account. That's when things changed." I sat up straighter, my fingers clenching around the edge of the table. What do you mean he checked my account? I didn't give him the password. I swear. He must have watched me type it in or something. But hell, I think he was planning something. Her voice trembled, but it wasn't the soft, guilt-ridden tone from before. Now there was fear. Real fear. I told him to stop. I told him to leave. That was 2 days before you left. And then he just disappeared. No warning. No trace. I even went to the police, but they brushed it off like he just ghosted me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Or rather, I could. Because deep down, I knew this was never just about cheating. She had crossed a line somewhere, and now she couldn't find her way back. He's not answering anyone. His apartment's cleared out. He left his car, his dog, everything. I don't know where he went, but I know he's watching me. I feel it. Every time I turn on a light or lock the door, I feel him outside. Her voice cracked then, and I had to fight the instinct to say something comforting. I wanted to say she was being paranoid, that this was just her guilt eating her alive. But the video, the cloud access, the way she panicked over him checking my bank account, it didn't add up. This wasn't some affair gone wrong. This was something messier. I think he wanted to use me to get to you, she said quietly. I think he wanted something from you. And when I told him I wasn't going to help anymore, he flipped. He said he'd ruin everything. That no one would believe me if I tried to warn you. I couldn't respond. My throat was dry. My thoughts were spiraling. I kept thinking about the nights she was at yoga, while I sat on the couch wondering what I'd done wrong. All the while, this man, whoever he was worming his way into our life, using her to get to me, and now he was gone. Not just distant, gone. Like a ghost. I ended the call without saying goodbye. I needed space to think. I walked down to the edge of the lake and sat on the damp wooden dock, letting the wind tear at my coat. The clouds above rolled heavy and low, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something I hadn't expected. Fear. Not for myself, but for what I might have led him to. By disappearing, I had left a vacuum. And in that silence, something dangerous had grown. She wasn't just broken because I left. She was terrified because she knew what she'd let in before I walked out that door. 2 days passed. I didn't answer her calls. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I didn't know what to say. I wasn't ready to process the idea that the man she let into our life might have been more than just a bad decision. It was no longer just about infidelity. Something darker was unraveling, and I had the creeping feeling that, by trying to escape, I might have left the door wide open for something much worse. But I couldn't sit in that cabin forever. The guilt was beginning to shift into something else, an instinct I hadn't felt in a long time. I needed to go back. Not for her. Not to forgive anything, but to see for myself. To confirm what my gut was telling me. That this wasn't just emotional destruction. It was calculated, manipulated, planned. So I drove back, early in the morning, just as the sky began to gray. I didn't call her. I didn't want a warning. If she was lying, I wanted to catch it on her face. And if she was telling the truth, if that fear in her voice was real, then I needed to know what the hell she had gotten us involved in. I parked 3 houses down and walked the rest of the way on foot. The neighborhood looked the same. Our front yard was still patchy with weeds, and the porch light flickered just like it always had. But something felt off. Maybe it was just my nerves, but the air felt thinner, still, like the world was holding its breath. I stepped onto the porch and noticed the front door wasn't latched. Not wide open, but not fully closed either. I pushed it gently, creaked inward. Inside it was quiet, too quiet. Even when we were fighting, there was always sound in that house. The buzz of the fridge, the dog snoring, a distant TV hum. Now, just silence. The kind that scratches at your ears. "Lorna?" I called out, but my voice came out flat. No answer. I moved slowly through the hallway, toward the living room. That's when I saw the first thing out of place. The curtain rod was snapped in half and lying across the floor. The curtains were pooled around it like fallen fabric soldiers. One of the side tables was overturned, and the lamp shattered beside it. There had been a struggle. I moved faster, now calling her name louder. I checked the kitchen. Empty. Bedroom. Empty. Bathroom, door shut. I knocked, called her name, and pushed it open. No one. But in the corner of the sink was her phone. Screen cracked, battery dead. Beside it, a single sticky note, scribbled in her handwriting, barely legible. If anything happens to me, check the safe. He made me change the code. My stomach dropped. The safe. The one in the closet. We hadn't used it in years. I bolted across the hall, yanked open the closet, shoved aside the pile of old coats and boots. The safe was still there, dusty, scratched, and it was open. Inside was nothing but a torn envelope and a flash drive taped to the back panel. No money, no documents, no passports, just that drive. I didn't think. I grabbed it, pocketed it, and slammed the safe shut again. I didn't know what I was expecting, but the fact that it had been opened, that she had left that note, meant one terrifying thing. Someone had been here, recently, maybe still was. I backed out of the room, moving slower now, checking behind every door like I was in someone else's home. I grabbed her phone and stuffed it in my coat. As I turned the corner to leave, something caught my eye. A shadow. Not mine. Not from a window. Just movement. In the hallway mirror. I spun around, heart in my throat. No one. But the back door, the one I always locked, was wide open. I didn't go to the police. Maybe I should have, but at that moment, I didn't trust anyone. Not her. Not myself. Certainly not whatever system had ignored her when she said someone vanished from her life. So I left the house the way I came in, quietly, quickly, locking the door behind me even though it felt meaningless now. I drove 20 minutes out of town before pulling into a gas station parking lot. The sun had just started to rise, casting long shadows across the windshield. I plugged the flash drive into the USB port of my old work laptop and braced myself. There was only one folder on it, titled Proof. Inside, 12 video files. I opened the first one, and instantly my blood ran cold. It was footage from inside our house, from multiple rooms, all time-stamped within the last 4 months. The camera angle was low, almost like it was hidden near the baseboards. I saw myself in a few of them, sitting on the couch, scrolling on my phone, unaware that someone, somewhere, had eyes on me in my own home. The worst one, though, the one that made me physically recoil, was from our bedroom. I was asleep, alone. The door creaked open. A figure stepped inside. Not her. Not anyone I recognized. Tall man. Dark hoodie. He stood there, completely still, watching me sleep for over 2 minutes. Then he turned, walked out, and closed the door so gently it didn't even latch. I had never seen this footage. I had no idea cameras were in the house. File after file, it became clearer. He had been recording us. Her. Me. Maybe both of us. And not just for fun or blackmail, there was something else. Something obsessive. In one clip, she was on the phone, pacing the hallway. He's been acting weird again. Like he knows. I don't know what to do anymore. Another clip showed her crying in the kitchen, whispering, "This isn't what I wanted. I didn't know he was like this." He said he just wanted to help. My hands shook as I closed the laptop. I couldn't breathe properly. My head was spinning. I thought she had cheated on me, and maybe she had. But this was more than an affair. This was surveillance, psychological warfare. Someone had manipulated her, inserted himself into our life, and when she tried to pull away, he didn't just leave. He vanished, but left behind a trail of fear and destruction. I wanted to scream, to throw the laptop out the window, but I didn't, because I wasn't done yet. There was one more folder buried at the bottom of the drive. Hidden. Password protected. I almost gave up, until I remembered something. Back when we were still trying to fix things, she told me about her dog growing up. A mutt named Gingersnap. She'd laugh every time she said it. That dog was the only thing that loved me unconditionally. I typed it in. Gingersnap. The folder unlocked. Inside were documents. Dozens of them. Screenshots of my bank statements. Copies of my emails. Password reset attempts. 2 fake IDs with my name but a different face. Someone had been trying to be me. The realization hit hard. He wasn't just obsessed with her. He had been studying me, preparing for something. And when I left, it ruined whatever plan he had been building. My phone buzzed. A text. From her. Just one line. He came back. I slammed the laptop shut. My chest tightened so fast I thought I might pass out. I didn't care about the fear anymore. I didn't care about the betrayal or the lies. I only knew one thing. I had to go back. And this time I wasn't walking in quiet. I drove like a man possessed. I don't remember most of the road. Just the white lines blurring past and my knuckles clenching the wheel until they ached. Her message echoed in my head. He came back. I didn't know what I was walking into, only that I wasn't going to be a victim anymore. I wasn't going to be silent or small or invisible. Not this time. When I pulled into the driveway, her car was there. The porch light was flickering like always, but the front door was wide open. That same terrible feeling, thick, heavy dread, hit me all over again. But I didn't hesitate. I stepped inside and called her name. No answer. The house was trashed. Worse than before. Furniture overturned. The hallway mirror shattered. But then I heard it. A soft sound, almost like a whimper, from upstairs. I bolted up the steps, and at the end of the hall, the bedroom door was cracked open. She was sitting on the floor, back against the bed, her face pale, hands shaking. Her eyes widened when she saw me, and for the first time in a long time, they filled with something I hadn't seen in years: relief. "He's gone," she whispered. "What do you mean?" I said, rushing to her. "He came back last night," she said, voice trembling. "Tried to get in through the back. I locked the bedroom door and called someone I knew could help. An old friend of my brother's. He's ex-military. He scared him off. Said he saw him run off through the woods. Said he wouldn't be back." I didn't know if I believed it. I didn't even know who this friend was. But I saw her then. Not the manipulative, cold version of her I'd resented, but a woman completely broken down. Not because she got caught. Not because her secret life imploded. But because she realized she had destroyed the one thing that had truly protected her, us. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered. I didn't know how far gone I was until you left." I stood there, looking down at her, and for the first time in this whole mess, I didn't feel anger. I didn't even feel sad. I just felt free. "You need help," I said. "Real help. Therapy. Boundaries. Closure." She nodded slowly, like she knew it already. "I'm not staying," I added. "But I came back to make sure you were okay, and to make sure he didn't win." I didn't hug her. I didn't kiss her. I just helped her stand, called the locksmith, and waited while they changed every lock in the house. Then I packed what was left of my things, what hadn't been stolen or broken, and walked back out into the daylight. A week later, I moved into a small apartment in a town where no one knew me. Got a new job. Quiet, peaceful work. No more hiding. No more lies. She sent me one final message a few days ago. A photo of our dog, curled up on the couch, and the words, "Thank you for showing up when it mattered most." And maybe that's all it ever came down to, knowing when to walk away, and when to come back just long enough to close the door behind you, for good. If you've made it this far, thank you. Some stories don't end in fireworks or revenge. They end in freedom, and sometimes, that's enough. Comment below. What part of this story shocked you the most? Was it the surveillance? The hidden safe? The moment he vanished? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us here on Reddit Confessions for more raw and unforgettable stories.